Friday training time. If anybody just from the start wants to see 2-minute drills on Bloomberg television and Amazon Prime, check it out. 8:30 p.m. tonight Pacific time. Lots going on. Hope everyone's enjoying the clubhouse, IG lives, the Zoom side of things. So thank you everyone. If you want the exercises, the guides, my books from this training, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm happy to send them for free to you. You can download the playbook. All the replays of the millionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, entertainers are there, plus all the training. Next week training, by the way, is blending persistence and patience. But let's get this thing started, everybody. I love that. Faith-filled Fridays. You got it. Faith, by the way, is the moderator between the truth and your perception. Give that a little bit of a thought today. We're going to talk about asking and attracting. A great blend of two different variables that make us successful, passionate, purposeful, and profitable at what we do. You need to ask for what you want. One of my favorite NFL players of all time, Vince Glenn, who worked for me on several occasions, said, "Dave, you ain't gonna get unless you ask. You can't ask big enough. You can't ask often enough. You can not ask enough people." So it all stems for me in an ancient Chinese proverb. It says, "He who asks question only remains a fool for 5 minutes. He who does not ask remains a fool forever." And so we need to be more interested than interesting. One of the biggest ways people are handicapping themselves today is by being too afraid to ask questions. They don't feel worthy of it, or they're worried to be separate, inferior, or superior by asking questions. While there's plenty of knowledge all around us, more than ever before, to be gained, it would be foolish to think that we can simply gain everything we need to know from firsthand experience. Mathematically, that's an incredible presumption to make. Multi-billions of variables, and you're going to presume that the best way to learn is to do it all yourself, firsthand experience. It's foolish, especially today, how connected we are. You know, when I was young, most people had a connectivity of about 4 to 5 people. They had a golf game, a card game, a church group. Today, even my 10-year-old has 1,000 followers. We are all connected. We are all sponsors and power sponsors, here to help each other, not gatekeepers trying to stop each other. We need to rely on the knowledge of others around us in order to pass that information along through us to assist in broadening our horizons from our ignorance, to expand, to grow, and accelerate what we're trying to do. Most people, the problem is they've never been taught to ask properly. You know, I have reiterated my favorite ask in the world, and understanding that ask is subtle but so true in progressing the sponsorship and power sponsorship additive of what we do. And so I'm going to start with it and let everybody know, do you know anyone that can help me, is a great way to ask for help. So we don't know how to ask. We do it badly. Sometimes we ask using our ego-based consciousness, like guilt, coercion, blackmail. We ask by overselling, back-end selling, lying, manipulating, and cheating. These are not the way to ask. Remember, I told you that faith is the moderator between the truth and your perception. We solicit sometimes pity when we ask. We create separation, inferiority when we want assistance. Or worse, we feel as if we're going to be inferior, so we don't ask either. Another problem is we ask the wrong person. We don't take the time to figure out who are the best people, and who are the best people to ask people with open minds. When you realize that we're all sponsors and power sponsors, and we're asking, do you know anybody that can help me? The best people to ask are those people that are open mind. Why? Because it takes as much energy to re-engineer or ask someone with a closed mind to get something done as it does 1,000 people with an open mind. And so we want to ask the right people that have the knowledge of who can help us. They may not be able to help us themselves, but they're people who have open minds that will find the people to help us. And so that's who we're trying to ask. My whole paradigm shift of success happened when I stopped trying to find the exact right person to ask. Instead, just finding people with open-minded, surrounding myself with people with open-minded, joining groups and clubs and going online with open-minded topics that allowed me to ask that simple question, do you know anybody that can help me? You need to let go of the interference of humility. So many people have been humiliated by asking. You know, I started, one of my first asks I didn't even ask. At 6th grade camp, I asked my best friend Rob if he would ask, who's now my wife, by the way, this really wonderful, beautiful, unbelievable 12-year-old at 6th grade camp to go study with me, and she humiliated me. Well, actually, my friend did, because she said no, tell him to ask me himself, and he said, dude, she said no in front of everyone, and so I threw an egg at her. My whole life could have been different if I didn't know how to ask and be persistent, and you know, almost 15 years later, re-ask myself. But what I learned by asking is, number one, be straightforward. Carry 120 energy. You are providing and articulating quantitative value to exceed what you're asking for. That's the key ingredient and component of making sure that you should be asking by carrying the energy of 120 and articulating the quantitative value effectively. You need to be straightforward and know your what. And in order to know your what, you need to know and value your personal what, experiential what, giving what, and receiving what, and be able to transcode that into actual articulation, means speaking of a quantitative value to exceed what you're asking for. If you can do that, you can be very straightforward and say, hey, I'd like to give you $100 of value. Can you give me $20 of value back? Ask in specific terms. Don't talk around issues. Don't oversell, backhand sell. Talk specifically. So many times we lose the number one reason that people will do things for us because of what? Credibility. Not emotional attachment, that's number two. Because of credibility, and we lose our credibility if we're not specific on what we're asking for. We lose, how many times do people ask you things and you have no idea what they're asking for? Especially those out there that may be coaches or mentors or parents, and how many times we say, what are you asking for? What exactly can I do for you? Know how big of an ask it is. And you can't ask too big, but know how big it is. And know who you're asking and what networks they're in and how they can be of service to you as a sponsor or a power sponsor. And don't micromanage the ask. Don't overthink the ask. Don't overanalyze the ask. You never know who's connected to who. You could be sitting at a stop sign. You could be sitting on a bus stop. You could be waiting in a line at the Starbucks. Open up a conversation. Open up a conversation to what? See and be more interested if what? The person has an open mind in order to effectuate a statistical success of asking that open mind who's probably surrounding themselves with like minds, other open minds, do you know anyone that can help me? And one of the other big questions about asking beyond micromanaging, and I deal with this every single day, who here has difficulty knowing how often to ask? You know, when we haven't gotten an answer. I have a 3-no rule to determine how often I ask. And I allow the universe to help me determine, as I ask the first time and I don't get a response or I don't get an answer of yes, then I ask a second time. If I don't get a response or an answer of yes, or some other thing gets in the way. And then finally the third time, I let that person know that I'm going to go ask some other people and that this is the right time or emotion or value I haven't articulated. But if they'd like to move forward, please reach out. And if they don't. Now the advantage of that under the 3-no rules, which all of these things I have exercises for. So I have a 3-no document that can help you work through this. But the best thing about the 3-no rule that I found is that number one, it will expedite those people that are going to say yes in the future by walking away from them after the third no. And even more valuable, half or more of the people that don't get back to you, you will not waste your time, emotion, and energy on. You will not waste 1,000 times of energy that it takes to find or to re-engineer a closed mind. So if you're worried about how often to ask, I say 3 times. And then walk away with an option to re-engage. Those people that do re-engage, approximately half of the people, you've just expedited getting the yes. Those people that say no, the closed-minded people that don't answer you or say no, you have just saved yourself even more time, more value, because you were already going to get the business from the people that had said yes after you walked away. It just sped up the process. More valuable is not wasting your time, emotion, and resources on people that are closed-minded, that it takes exponentially so much to get through or re-engineer or engineer a vision from those sponsors and power sponsors. Well, it's very easy to talk about. It's also very hard for many of us to take the leap of faith, the moderator between truth and perception, and ask questions. There was a study, a famous one from that school in Boston, the one that the people that go there say the school in Boston, an Ivy League school. They cited multiple reasons for people's reluctance to ask questions. But the most prominent response was due to fear of negative evaluation or response. While I don't find it all too shocking, right, the ego-based consciousness, primary and secondary fear of rejection or negativity, I do find it concerning. And I compiled a short list of reasons that you should not deal in ego-based consciousness. Remember, number one, we want to identify what we're afraid of, stop, drop, and roll. So the first thing that I thought about to help people that are afraid of giving negative responses, including no's, afraid of judgment or conditions, is you don't know everything. That's a rule, right? You don't know everything. Don't be afraid of being a hypocrite because there's billions of variables. You need to ask because you know one micro dot of what's available to know, and you cannot have personal experience in order to effectuate learning all of the things that you want to know. No matter what you may think, you don't know everything there is to know about any certain topic, even ones that we're experts at, let alone life in general. While there are experts all over the world, mentors all over the world, one of the things I love about Clubhouse, and we'll be taking questions on IG, of course, you can put your questions in here. I see them loading up here on our webinar and on Clubhouse at 11:30. The one thing is that you can find someone that sits in the situation that you want to be in. You can find someone that can give you directions to where you want to go. And, you know, Socrates, who I studied, I'm going to read this, that only one true wisdom that we have, the only one true wisdom that we have is knowing that you know nothing. We come from no thing, now we're here to no thing. Think about that. Socrates himself started with the premise that he was a hypocrite, that he didn't know what he didn't know, and that we don't know nothing. You know nothing. Even if you could study all day long, I spend a minimum of an hour and a half a day researching and studying, being more interested than interesting, learning, etc. And most of the things that I learn, I forget. Right? Life's about these lessons that I've learned. I keep learning the lessons. Pain is the indicator that I have a lesson to learn. It's a turn signal to put me into a better place, a better situation, to make my situation better, if I'm able to learn the lesson. But yet, even Socrates and myself, I can't learn because I forget almost every lesson I've ever learned. But the important thing today is that we have an easier time to access those lessons. And one of the ways that we access lessons, situational knowledge and experience, is to ask. Not just ask Jeeves, not just ask Google, but ask an expert. Ask people they know an expert that can help you. Find someone that has 30, 40 years experience in a certain area, in a certain place, to exactly give you directions to get to exactly where they're at. And the best thing is, when you ask someone, they're giving them an opportunity to feel good. And we all know how I feel about feeling good, about helping people and inspiring them, to empower them to be happy, to empower others to be happy. So this ask idea is well along the litany of helping people be happy. And so coming from such brilliant people like Socrates, who has provided us with so much information and lessons in the past, this quote should speak volumes to all of us, that even Socrates knew the importance of understanding how little we know and how we should not take ourselves so seriously, and we should not be afraid of being hypocrites. It should also create a sense of humility, allowing you to feel comfortable about asking questions. The more questions you ask, the better off you'll be. The more questions you ask, the better off you'll be. The second thing that I realized was you aren't the only one with the question. You know, I'm blessed to have extraordinary private coaching groups and been able to, through COVID, to scale wisdom, not only just from me one-on-one in these private groups, but from the groups themselves, and the collective consciousness that's been created through that. And there's so many times that someone brings a question up, and though other people will come in and say, I have the exact same question. I'm so glad they asked. I've been too afraid to come up here, but so-and-so asked the question. It is highly likely that if you are curious about something, so is someone else. so is someone else. So help that person by being brave enough to ask and facilitate the expansion and growth and acceleration that everybody in a collective can gain from you. When you are in a meeting with colleagues, it can be intimidating to see everyone looking around and engaged, comfortable with what's being discussed. You could be on these huge clubhouse rooms or here in the training, I got Q&A in here. It could be intimidating. However, if you have any doubt whatsoever in the subject matter and someone else is in the room feeling the same way, I guarantee it. You cannot know. The best thing you can do is ask. There are no stupid questions. Trust me. Just caveat and say, hey, this might be a question that everyone else here knows, but I would like to know it so I can level up, so I can appreciate the similarities between us. And with that being said, not only will you be helping out yourself, but most likely you'll be helping out an enormous amount of people around you by raising your questions. So see what type of giving you're giving when you're giving questions in humility. Another thing that I realized about people that aren't asking questions is that it facilitates conversation. Catalysts are questions. By raising questions, especially in a group setting, I see this all the time in my private groups, you're oftentimes enabling a further discussion within the group. Maybe what you say sparks the thought from someone else, or maybe the question or something that has rested with the group hadn't thought about that point yet. And then the acceleration and growth and expansion occurs because your question is the catalyst. You should not think that a question will take away from productivity or be a waste of time. Long drawn out stories can be seen that way. How many times do we get on a clubhouse or in a conversation and somebody just sucks the air right out of the clubhouse or the conversation? Questions will never do that. Questions will never suck the air out of it. If anything, asking lots of questions and brainstorming will likely help everybody else with their understanding, and better questions will come up and more information will be covered. So remember, questions are catalysts, they're gifts, they're investments, they're interests. They're valuable. Another thing that I want to point out about questions and to ask is educated people respect your desire to learn. Like minds surround themselves with like mind. Open-minded people love to ask questions and love to be able to share their knowledge as well. And so by asking questions, you are facilitating a qualification for your business and personal life to surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. The more that you ask questions, the more you are attracting, which we're going to get to, the more you are attracting like-minded, open-minded people. The most educated people in the world would never scoff up or look down in someone that has a desire to learn. We are here to empower others to be happy, to learn. We are here to expand, grow, and it's amazing, in fact, that many of our experiences, leaders that sit in the situations that we want to be in, and highly leveled, respected leaders, they always show interest in the people that ask questions. Look at your professors. They will align and adhere to the people that ask the most questions. While you may be worried that it makes you look less intelligible, it actually is making you more intelligible, more intelligent, more interested than interesting. Your desire to learn shows, and the questions you ask are the first step in fulfilling that desire. Lastly, before I get into the attract side, we will be asking in person every day. It is a practice, it is a muscle, it is a discipline. You need to ask in person every day. Look and seek for the right people to ask. Do you know anybody that can help me? On the phone, you need to ask via text and voice and voicemail. Remember, when you're asking via voicemail, the only thing you should be asking is to get the person to call you back. 80% of the people don't answer. If you're not an expert at getting people to call you back, you're missing out on great efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistical success. I teach a course and have an exercise on toughness in telephone. If you want that, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I will send you the best of the exercise, toughness in telephone, how to get people to call you back. Remember, 80% of the people don't call or email you back. How do you do it? You have exercise for that. You're not going to get it without asking in person, on the phone, via email. I check my sent box every day to see how well and how disciplined I am, how I am practicing and walking the walk, how and what level of a hypocrite I am by looking and seeing how many emails have an ask on it. When I get spam, people laugh at me. I get a lot of spam, probably you do too. 1 out of 10 people that spam me end up doing something with me, coming to my free trainings, getting my exercises, guides, books, downloading the playbook, sharing it, coming to a speech of mine, getting my books for free, whatever it is. 1 out of 10 people that are trying to spam me end up engaging with me. Why? Because everybody that emails me gets a response, at least with an ask. Do you know anybody that can help me? I do free Friday trainings. Every Friday, I have a playbook that has those trainings if you miss it, to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. Ask, in person, on the phone, and via email. And then finally, how do we deal with social media and the internet? You need to, number one, make sure that you're utilizing traditional media and then capturing that. So radio, print, TV, all traditional things that we used to do, capture what you're doing in real life, and then amplify it, modify it, and perpetuate it on the internet. Ask. Ask. Don't be afraid to ask. You don't have to sell. Ask. You know what can help me? I'm looking for someone that has or sits in this situation that has the answer to this. Maybe you want the answer as well. The last thing I want to say before we get into the attract side of thing is one thing I found that's more modern in its context about asking is to know who you're asking. The internet, believe it or not, isn't always right. Now, we all, before the internet, knew that the people we were asking weren't always right. The encyclopedias even were questioned, the dictionaries, the codified books that we read from years past, the history that was taught in our schools. But the internet is incredible. With the advent of services like Google and Answers.com and Ask Jeeves, people sometimes think that they should be able to find everything we need to know via the internet. In person, on the phone, via email, not necessarily the internet. However, we know the internet isn't true. Nowadays, it's become extremely easy to host websites and circulate unverified information to the public that can be a tall task for figuring this out. And utilizing that is where the trusted human element is being discounted. So for me, I ask a lot. I ask a lot on my social media, but I do not discount the human element needed to verify, to trust and vet the information of the ask that I'm looking for, the people that I'm asking, the capabilities of the people that I'm asking, the information that I'm receiving back. Reaching out and finding respected educators and topic professionals can be an easy way to verify the answers that you can access efficiently via the internet. But I still say trust and vet. And if we don't trust and vet the internet, we could be led down or accelerate through the wrong path, one that's not aligned with what we want, could be taken advantage of, oversold, back-end sold, lied to, manipulated, or cheated even. Aside from purely finding information, reaching out to the credible sources is something the internet can be used for in order to help create new relationships by utilizing, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for this answer. I'm looking for this knowledge. I'm looking for this motivation. I'm looking for this inspiration. That is something that a computer and Wi-Fi can't replicate. They cannot replicate taking possibilities to probabilities and making your probabilities your perspective or reality. They cannot help you with the moderator of faith, of truth into perception. As a part of our constantly evolving society, you should take pride in your lack of knowledge. You should find comfort in radical humility and knowing that you have billions and billions of variables and facts to learn. And whether it's work or at home or life in general, I challenge you to stay curious. I challenge you to seek the unknown and to be radically humble and to trust and verify and ask more questions. It is difficult to ask for help, to tell yourself that it's easy not to compare ourselves to others, the fear of rejection, experiencing dependency of other people, don't feel like you had to burden someone else, reciprocity, I have to do something for him if he does it for me, fear of losing control, inferiority and superiority, a belief in self-reliance that I can do it all myself, and an overwhelming potential energy drain. Ask. Find the most simple way, because if you ask, we can utilize all the laws of the universe. And here's how the attract works. Asking, right? The universe is expanding. Whatever's in here creates a vacuum. And what we ask for is going to fill that vacuum. And if we ask for what other people want for us, it's going to fill the vacuum. If we ask for what we don't want, it's going to fill the vacuum. If we ask for what's missing in our life, it's going to fill the vacuum. If we don't ask, there's nothing to fill the vacuum, and it's going to not expand. So we need to look at all the laws in order to figure out how does it work. The first law is the law of gravity. The law of gravity says that everything is drawn down to me. Whatever it is I'm asking for will come to me. The law of gravity, if I throw it up, it will come down. If I throw the question out, push it out, whether it be online, in person, on the phone, or email, it's coming to me. Law of gravity is ignored in the law of attraction. So we ask, trust the law of gravity, then we utilize one of my mentors, John Asseroff's favorite saying, the law of Goya. So asking is the first step in the law of Goya, which is get off your ass. You need to actually do something. Do not sit at home, high, broke, sick on your mom's couch, dreaming about what you want to attract. No, you got to ask and you got to take action through the law of Goya. Then if you ask, utilizing the law of gravity, and you utilize the law of Goya by taking action on what you are asking for, participating, collaborating, utilizing your own free will to get out of your way, to clear the interference between you and which already exists, which is the answer in the lesson. It's already there. You have to allow it to come to you by utilizing both the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind, getting yourself out of your way with the fear-based emotion that creates the resistance, voids, and shortages for you. All of this I have for you if you want. If I'm talking too fast, just email me or watch the playbook, the download, and re-listen to it at half speed, whatever it takes. But it's so important to utilize the law of gravity, the law of Goya, and the law of attraction. But it only works if you set it in motion. Nothing happens until you move. And what makes it moves is asking. In person, on the phone, via email, and media. Traditional media, which can be captured, modified, amplified, and perpetuated into the internet or social media or digital itself as the first step in what you want to do, knowing that we must what? Trust and verify all the information. You will elevate yourself and others by asking. You are giving a gift not only to yourself, making an investment in yourself, but you're making an investment in others and allowing them to invest in themselves. One of the things when I'm coaching that I feel the biggest hypocrite about is I will give advice. Sometimes I know the situational knowledge and sometimes I channel it to people, but I'll give the advice and I'll think to myself, man, that's a good idea. I should really do that. Well, I'm giving everybody here a good idea today. Please ask. Ask and attract. Utilize the law of gravity, Goya, and attraction to get what you want rapidly and accurately. Ask in person, on the phone, via email and media. Ask and attract, and you will be happy. You will empower others to be happy. You will empower others to be happy. I'm going to be taking some questions. If anyone wants the replay of this, just download the playbook. It's there on Spotify featured, Entrepreneur, iTunes, Google Play. It's everywhere. Or email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll be more than happy to send you my book, sign it. I'll pay for shipping. I'll give you my exercises, my guides on all of these different concepts. Not a problem. Just reach out to me. We're going to take some Q&A now. I want to thank everybody for joining. Got tons of questions to go with. First person that we're looking for on Clubhouse, Kevin Faulkner. I'm going to read off a quick question and then we'll answer yours. How do you recognize the path of least resistance? Well, practice, number one. But I think it's more your mindset that determines what the resistance is. I have mantras when I'm in the case of asking that I'll receive no resistance, that everything will be effortless for me. And so if I recognize shortages, voids, obstacles, and interference to peace and certainty, then I know and can recognize that this is a path of resistance. And so I'm looking for a lesson in order to lessen the resistance. When we find the indicator, pain will usually indicate that there's some resistance. If we find the lesson quickly, it will indicate and lessen through the lessons the resistance. All right, Kevin, welcome to the Clubhouse. It's our Q&A. What question you got for me?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
No problem. What do you got for me, my brother?
So, as far as mindset goes, what I have learned, I went through a lot, as we all did in 2020, and in a short period of 6 months, I have went from basically skid row to doing better than I've ever done in my entire life. And what I attribute that to is joining a mentor program. So I really wanted to get your thoughts on and let you elaborate for a few minutes on what your background is from your beginning with mentors and how you got your start with your first mentor.
Great. So looking at mentorship, obviously a big part of my life now. I was resistant to understanding I had mentors, and I see this in a lot of professional athletes, especially when they get out of playing and they come and they start into the entrepreneurship or business or finance, and they start talking about mentorship or coaching, and their initial reaction is, no man, I don't need that. And that's because of some of the reasons that we're talking about today, asking for help, humility and things. But when you sit down with someone and explain to them, the fastest way to get to where you want to be is find someone that's already there to give you directions. And especially athletes, when they're sitting there and you say, have you had a coach before? Yeah, since I've been 5 years old. Then why don't you think you need one for business? Why don't you think you need one for engineering? Why don't you think you need one for spirituality? Why don't you think you need one for meditation, yoga, fitness, nutrition? And it goes on and on and on when you find the people that sit in the situation that you want to be in. So I found that early in my career that I had mentors but didn't acknowledge them. I had mentors that were forcing themselves upon me, and sometimes I had resistance, and I called it micromanaging, which if you're being micromanaged by someone, say thank you. That means they really care about you. Worry if they're leaving you alone, personally or professionally. If they're micromanaging you, thank goodness they're trying to give you the knowledge that they have. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but be accepting, understanding, and grateful for the knowledge. Everyone out there should have at least 3 mentors, people that sit in the situation that they want to be in. As soon as I completely surrendered and understood that I already had and I am connected to everything I need in a world of more than enough, I allowed mentorship and coaching into my experience. And let me give you the difference. A lot of you may wonder what the difference between a coach and a mentor is. I finally got a good answer the other day. So coaches bring the best out of you, and a mentor gives the best of them to you. So a coach is going to bring the best out of you. A mentor is going to give the best of them to you. And so I think you should have coaches and mentors to put upon the skills or capabilities, knowledge, and desire that you have, aligned with, like you said, what's doing well today in the pandemic, what's stable in the pandemic, or what do you think is going to be doing well after the pandemic. Everyone out there should have mentors. If you are looking for one in a certain area and you can't find them, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Join one of my groups. Come to free trainings. Download the playbook. Whatever it takes, use whatever you can as a mentor. 2 of my biggest mentors in my life are dead. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention, dead. I have him teach me every day. Every day I'm sucking the knowledge out of him. He's a mentor. And then, of course, Napoleon Hill, mentor of mine, sucking the knowledge out of him. Be a coach, be a mentor, find a coach, and find a mentor. What a terrific question to start off, Kevin. I thank you so much for bringing it up.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking time to answer my question. It's an honor to be up here.
It's an honor to have you. I'm going to bring up Carolina Porto, and I'm going to answer a question while we wait for her to come up here. Are there any shortcuts to feeling inspiration that you've discovered? Some quick reminder or a trick to feel energized or passionate? Well, number one, I don't believe in shortcuts, right? I always think about if I'm cutting the line or taking a shortcut, all that means is I'm going to have to go back to the end of the line. But I do know that there's ways to refocus in what we do, a shift in the paradigm, a shift in perspective to feel more energized and passionate if that's my what. And what changed that for me is understanding that I'm already connected to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons. I'm already connected to that which gives me enough power in my finger to light up all of Manhattan. I'm already connected to all of the answers, all of that I need, and all that everybody else's needs. And so instead of looking to go get it, what I did is shifted my paradigm. It's not a shortcut. I shifted my paradigm to identify or acknowledge what's in the way of me and it. So I use all of my energy to figure out what is it that's interfering with my health? What is it that's interfering with my wealth? What is it that's interfering with my nutrition, my exercise, my money, whatever it may be? What is it? Because it already exists and I'm already connected to it. I want to find out what is interfering with it so it can come to me faster, more rapidly and accurately. And the best way to do that is for asking for it. When you ask it, remember, law of gravity, you ask for it, it's coming down to you. The law of Goya, you start taking action by asking for help and getting help and taking action and executing on that help. It's going to come to you even faster. And that's what we call or define as the law of attraction. And then we also even generate a beacon on our unconscious competency, our quantum memory, that creates an automatic system of the law of gravity, the law of Goya, the law of attraction while we're sleeping even. But I digress. Let's take this question from my friend Carolina. Hi, Carolina.
Hello. Thank you for bringing me up stage, and thank you for your words and your time as well. It's very inspiring.
Thank you. You have a question for us?
I do. So this is my first time I'm going to start applying to VC funds for pre-seeding and this whole tech startup world. Normally, yes, I've had many small businesses, but this is something very new to me about the crazy valuations and growing a company to a certain extent. And sometimes I wonder if the fear of will I ever be enough, that imposter syndrome, will it ever go away?
Great question. So many of us feel separate, inferior, superior. And the reason that we feel that way is we're attaching our emotions to the outcome instead of creating an outcome that we want, being happy where we're at, giving everything we have to get to that outcome, but having faith as that moderator between the truth and our perception, but faith that we're going to end up somewhere better than that. By how? How do we detach our emotions from the outcome and still have a vision board and goals and persistent, consistent behavior? Very simple. We have to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit. We have to take our emotions after we determine our outcome, personally, experientially, giving wise and receiving wise, and we have to detach our emotions to what we're going to do with the who, the how, the now, and the why. We have to detach our emotions and hopes and dreams that some way we're going to get there, or we take some sort of judgment or condition that we are already farther than we thought we would be. Instead, if you focus your emotions on the consistent, persistent pursuit, better known as the journey, if you can enjoy that, learn to love what you're doing every day, go from motivation of getting us up, getting us back up, getting us started, getting us back started, into the inspiration of being in spirit, connected to all of those things already, the emotions that we'll feel are one of fulfillment, passion, purpose, and the profitability become more rapid and accurately because we have shifted the paradigm from some sort of shortage, void, or obstacle that we're living in a world of not enough, where you're a victim or an imposter, into a world maybe of just enough, where you're still an imposter because you're not happy or you're not satisfied or you think you've gone farther than your thermostat of life should allow you, and you live in this world of just enough, buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. No, you want to live in this abundant world with faith that there's better out there for you, and the key to getting better than you even dream of or creating objectives for is to simply enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit with all your emotions tied to that pursuit, not to the outcome. You still should have the outcome, but detach your emotions from it. Be happy in the pursuit. Remember, there is no pursuit of happiness. Happiness is the pursuit. Did that help you, Carolina?
Wow, amazing. Especially that last sentence of happiness in the pursuit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's pull someone else up here. Jakey Bake. I'll take another question. Alessandro, come on up. Let me answer a quick question online here. This is a more pragmatic one. I have to take it. Hi, David and all. I have 10,000 visitors to my online store, 5,000 content views, yet 0 sales. Is this an issue of mindset? No, it's an issue of sales. And I'm going to send everybody the 5 to Thrive system. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You are an amazing person of stimulating interest. And where you're having difficulty, and I can help you, is transitioning that interest into a shared vision. You are not right now credible with the emotional attachment they're able to secure to get people to visit and to view the content. You need to articulate that quantitative value in a much more clear sense so that they can't see any reason why they don't want to buy what you're selling. You have not reached the threshold of articulating value greater than what you're asking for. And it could be within the transition of the interest, the video or content that you have on the website, or it could just be in the articulation of the value. It's not a matter of mindset. It's a matter of 5 to Thrive. Stimulating interest you got down. You need to transition interest to share that vision, then manage and develop that vision with the execution when you send out that product or solution or service to the person, that it's going to thrive. In other words, that they're going to become instant salespeople of you, ambassadors of yours, power sponsors and sponsors, bringing in more people, more visitors, and more sales. Go ahead and reach out to me, david@dmeltzer.com. I will send everyone the 5 to Thrive system. It's free, don't worry. I will send it to you. I have made a lot of money and helped a lot of people and had a lot of fun with how 5 to Thrive works, both for economic reasons, professional reasons, and personal reasons as well. Great question. Thank you so much. Alessandro, welcome. Do you have a question for me?
Hi, David. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a question. I've been listening here, and it's really, really interesting and inspiring. Well, yeah, I have a question. Actually, I started my business 4 years ago now, and I've been working on it a lot. So I have a YouTube channel, I have a Facebook group, I have many things that are going on at the moment. And I just started with this new platform, with this clubhouse. And for many of us here in this room, I guess that is a new thing, and we're trying to get to know it and understand how to use it for our business. So my question for you, David, is you already have an audience here. You created a following. So what is, in your opinion, the best use that a person can do of Clubhouse without wasting too much time or draining too much time between different things, between Clubhouse and all the other things that an entrepreneur could have?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we want to do is learn how the platforms work and how we gain knowledge and following, if those are the two objectives that you have. So I come on Clubhouse to learn myself, and then I also come on to build a following so I can teach or coach or mentor. And so I believe in, 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. So you'll never see me on for 16 hours on a Saturday, but you will see me on 16 minutes every day. And utilizing and picking the right like minds, these open minds that I'm looking for, either to be a mentor, coach, or teacher, or to learn myself. I then target each day a minimum amount of time to spend on the variable platforms that I'm on. Clubhouse, for example, I give a minimum of 10 minutes a day. Instagram as well. LinkedIn, I spend a little bit more time. And all because of my what. I'm taking inventory of my values each day, but I also know the exponential effect of how these platforms work, meaning that consistency is the key ingredient. That too many people think that 1 day a week for 16 hours is going to change what they're doing, but I say 16 minutes a day, every day, will exponentially grow, compound both your knowledge and your following. And if you pick and choose which platforms best suit you, you will be able to determine and prioritize the time that you spend every day on each of these platforms and the what you're trying to get out of it personally, experientially, giving-wise, and receiving-wise. And I think too many people go in under the guise of TikTok, being entertained, and instead of seeing them as specific tools to learn and teach. I think when you realize that that is the format that Clubhouse has, where TikTok is an entertainment. If that's what you want to give a minimum amount of time to entertain, that's beautiful, it's fun. I am all for it. I use other forms of entertainment. I use each platform specific to the spectrum of people that are on it, how I can teach and learn, and then move forward under the context of doing it every single day. Hopefully that helps you get started. Remember, just look for 2 people a day. It'll grow very quickly. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for your answer. Pretty cool.
Awesome. Try to be as valuable as possible as I can, hit as many questions as I can. If I'm talking too fast, remember, just download the playbook. You can listen to it in half-time speed. I know I'm talking fast, but I want to get to a lot of people and drop as many nuggets as I can to help as many people as I can, especially when you're doing a training on asking and attracting. It'd be terrible not to answer. Once again, proving I'm a hypocrite. Catalina Park, why don't you come up and ask me a question? I'm going to answer this question right here. How to be more confident when making an ask? For me, it's all practice. I practice my ask, and I have it down. Do you know anybody that can help me? But I know my ask. I will also coach, meaning bring out the best in other people's asks, right? Mentoring is when I'm receiving, giving my knowledge, and coaching is when I'm bringing the most knowledge out of the person. So confidence comes from having clarity on what you want to ask, balancing your what, your personal experiential giving and receiving values, and then having clarity, balance, and then focus, right? And remember, Dave Meltzer's philosophy on focus. You can only focus it on one thing at a time. So I also practice refocusing, so it appears as if I'm multitasking, but I'm actually beating the speed of light, and with my thought and thinking about 2 things very quickly back and forth makes it appear like I'm multitasking, but you can only focus on one thing. So what you want to do to be more confident is practice, which will give you clarity, balance it between your values, get focused on what that question is. Do you know anyone that could help me, for example? And then allow yourself to have that confidence in asking in person, on the phone, via email, and media. Catalina, thanks for coming up. You got a question for me?
Thank you for having me. I do. So I am a mindset coach to coaches, and I wanted to hear your take on, or your experience, and what is the biggest mindset shift that you made, and how did you recognize it and embrace it to make the most out of your potential, and what inspired it?
Wow, what an amazing question. I hope a ton of people out there have this question, because I always love to touch on this issue, is what changed or shifted my paradigm, my quantum shift in life. What exactly? And for me, it was the relationship between 2 currencies and how it applies to receiving. So the first currency that drove my life since a very young age was the currency of money. A currency is an object of energy in which we put into the flow to get what we want. And so I was hyper-focused with my attention and my intention to create the coincidences around money. I wanted to be rich. I thought money bought happiness and love. I wanted to help someone with that money. I wanted to buy my mom a house and a car, because I grew up broke with 6 kids, a single mom who worked 2 jobs, and it broke my heart how much she did for all of us with unconditional love and no expectation. And meanwhile, set upon a journey in that currency, the biggest shift in my paradigm was understanding the second currency and how it applied to the first. The second currency that I learned later on in life from some great input mentors and coaches is that the currency of faith. And I don't necessarily mean or to separate anyone in a spiritual, religious sense. You believe what you believe, but everybody's inspired and has faith. And that faith is an object of energy that puts into the flow and gets you what you want. And when I learned to blend through my understanding of receiving the currency of money, right? I always say money doesn't buy love or happiness, but it allows you to shop. And if you shop with faith, you'll buy the right things that make you happy. So money is important, but you need a blend of that currency with the blend of faith. And when I realized that no longer would I have trades, negotiations, scarcity of living in a world of not enough or just enough, buying things I don't need to impress people I don't like. But once I could shift into a world, an abundant world of more than enough of everything for everyone, where I could be confident in the fact that I am happy. And this is where asking comes in. So it's why it's such a pertinent question. When I'm confident that everything I receive comes through me, with my appreciation, my value added to it, and give it away. In other words, I live in a world of more than enough where everything comes through me by asking, in person, on the phone, via email, and social media, asking in conscious, subconscious, and unconscious ways for what I want, currency-wise, faith and money-wise. But I'm asking for only one purpose with 100% confidence, balance, and focus, that I am asking to receive so I can give it away. I'm not asking to give so I can receive, which is what I was taught and thought I was a philanthropist, a humanitarian. I thought I was just such a great guy because I was always giving to receive, which was just a trade and negotiation that existed in a scarce world. Instead, I live my life in full currency between faith and money, that everything I receive comes through me with appreciation to give away. I am here from nowhere. I am now here. And I will be back to nowhere. And I have a jacket with no pockets in my closet that my dad gave me, and I hated him for it. That reminds me every day that I'm not going to be the richest man in the cemetery, and there's nothing to take with me. And my entire existence here is to allow things to come through me with appreciation to give it away. I am here to go from nowhere to now, here to nowhere, giving my life away. And that's the key to asking, because you can't get unless you ask. The more you receive, the more you can give. Hopefully that helped you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you guys are wearing me out. All right. I'm going to bring up Lila. I think that's how I pronounce it. Lila Talks. Cannot be a better name, unless it was Lila Ass. But we'll bring up Lila.
Sorry, David. It's Leela, actually. Leela.
Even better. Thank you. I'm the name butcher, so you can just call me Dave Meltzer, name butcher. That's awesome. So Leela, let me just answer one quick question online, and then I'll get to you. What fears stop us from asking is the question that I love. What fears stop us from asking are all fears. Primal fears. So the primal Freudian fears, which everyone knows, you know, the need for feed, flight, fight, or the other F word that means procreate. But even more distinctive are the secondary needs that stop us from asking. A need to be separate, a need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be anxious, angry, frustrated, guilty, resentful, all of the secondary needs. So you need to be a ferocious Buddha, identify these needs, and when instead of resisting them and fighting them and overselling, back and selling and lying and going over and under and through, simply just stop, breathe, get down to your center neutrality, and go and ask with the greatest neutrality of energy to plateau and grow in your life. Okay, Leela, thank you so much for letting me squeeze a quick question online in. Such a pleasure to have you here. How can I help?
Yes, well, one, I love your energy. It is totally energizing me over here. So thank you so much. It's like, you know, it's full of energy. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I coach others, and I share that content on my YouTube channel. But there is something that I wanted to ask you. I follow you on Instagram, so it's great to see you on Clubhouse, and it's regarding decision making. So I think there's like a thin line between like persistence, right? Grit, pushing hard, like just going through adversity. Like I'm working my PhD in entrepreneurship, so I study a lot about aspiring entrepreneurs, and that's a really important skill, right? But also there's also the ability to recognize cutting your losses, right? Stopping and possibly quitting. And so I think it's just a matter of hindsight. Whatever decision you make, you're like, oh yeah, that's a positive decision. Or, oh yeah, that's a great decision. And, you know, to push on. And so personally, I think it comes down to like people's decision-making skills. I think that is a skill as well as gut feel. But I really want to ask you, what are your thoughts on when someone should, you know, push on or stop and maybe possibly readjust their approach?
That's an awesome question. So number one, I try to help people not have to make major decisions. And how I do that is that whole what, who, how, now, and why philosophy that I have. But mainly taking inventory of our values every day and not being afraid to be a hypocrite. Meaning, if in a business, our objective is to stay in business, and you're saying, when do we close a business or cut a tie? I say, take inventory of your values every day, and everything becomes an evolution, not a revolution. Meaning that our businesses don't define us, but also don't define business. What do I mean by that? That I've had several entities and business ventures and partnerships and a variety of different activity I get paid for that didn't work out. But I resolved it by allowing myself not to define myself by those businesses, but also not to define those businesses as separate. So that when I moved from Lee Steinberg to Sports One Marketing and Sports One Marketing to Dave Meltzer Enterprises, they weren't start and stops. They were an evolution, a plateau and grow. Pain itself and the successes and failures that were created that resulted in pain was just an indicator, a turn signal for me. And so every business that I am involved in is a morphosis of the other businesses. Why? Because I'm taking lessons every day by taking inventory of my personal values, my experiential values, my giving values of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, and my receiving values of what I want. So each day as I get closer or farther away from maybe what other people call pivoting or changing names of businesses or changing careers, industries, professions, whatever it is. And if you look at the history and connect the dots backwards on my career, it's a shit show, monkey shine, who knows what you call it. But I don't know how I ended up wanting to be a football player, a doctor, a lawyer, graduating law school, selling in the internet, to CEO of the world's first smartphone, to the notable sports agency, to marketing media, to personal brand, TV, movies, and now here on Clubhouse. Who knows how I got here other than taking inventory of my values each day, learning the lessons as pain indicated me to do so, and not defining myself by what I do, but also not defining the businesses by their names. Instead, looking at it as an evolution, not a revolution. No great successful business person would look back and say it was a straight line. They were simply happy where they are. They were learning lessons, they angled to where they wanted to be, and they had faith they would end up somewhere better than that. And usually better than that had a different name, different partners, and different financing to it. And all they see are lessons along the way. I hope that answered your question.
I love it. I love the idea of not having a big decision, doing it by day, so you minimize, potential impact. So that's just a great simple way of looking at it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Leela, and thank you for letting me butcher your name. Now you fall into the bigger group. Just watch the playbook and watch how many names I am terrible at. So thank you for your patience with that. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me for training. Remember, we have our training next week is on the persistence blending with patience, kind of what we were talking about there. My books, my guides, exercises, just email me. 5 to Thrive was available. Any of the ego-based trainings I've done, everything. I will send you my book, pay for it, sign it. If you haven't read it, just get it from me. I'll pay for it, get it to you as well. Remember, ask questions. When you ask questions, you only maybe remain a fool for 5 minutes, better than a lifetime. Let's all ask in person on the phone. Do you know anyone that can help me? Thank you. Thank you. 2-minute drills tonight. If you want to try out for 2-minute drills, season 2 is filming in March. So $50,000 every episode of cash and prizes. You'll love 2-minute drill. It's on Bloomberg TV. It's on Amazon Prime Video. Try out for the show. Win some money. Have some fun. I forget everything else I'm supposed to say. Download the playbook. If you forgot what I'm supposed to say, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Remember, everybody, whether you're on Zoom, IG, or Clubhouse, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you so much.